flash of light interrupting the dark period prevents flowering. You can have long day, short night plants, flowers only if the night is shorter than a critical dark period. A brief flash of light artificially interrupts a long dark period, thereby inducing flowering. So is there a flowering hormone? Experiments with this. Not yet chemically identified, called florigen. So you can see these were grafted together. This was flowering, non-flowering, and then since they were grafted together, this became flowering. So florigen may be a hormone or a change in relative conditions of multiple hormones. Plants respond to a wide variety of stimuli other than light. Because of immobility, plants must adjust to the environmental circumstances through development and physiological mechanisms. So this is gravitrophism, response to gravity. Okay, so here are roots. Over the course of hours, a positive-oriented primary root of maize bends gravitrophically until its bending tip becomes vertically oriented. So this is positive gravitrophism in roots. And this is the statholith hypothesis. Within minutes after the root is placed horizontally, plastids called statholiths begin settling to the lower sides of the root cap cells. This settling may be gravity sensing mechanism that leads to redistribution of auxin and differing rates of elongation by cells on the opposite side of the root. Okay, so you can see how they're gathered down here, causing down. Thigmotrophism is growth in response to touch. It occurs in vines and other climbing plants. So rapid leaf movements in response to mechanical stimulation are examples of transmission of electrical impulses called action potentials. So on the left, unstimulated leaflets spread apart. On the right, stimulated state from that colored pencil, leaflets folded. So down here you can see what happens, unstimulated, stimulated. So the curvature of the motor organ pulvinus is caused when motor cells on one side of the pulvinus lose water and become flaccid. Okay, lose water and become flaccid. On the opposite sides, they retain their turgor. So these cells are bigger than these, so it will bend and they will close. So leaflets after stimulation. This makes them close. Environmental stresses have a potentially adverse effect on survival, growth, and reproduction. They can have a devastating impact on crop yields and agriculture. During drought, plants respond to water deficit by reducing transpiration by closing their stomata, and deeper roots continue to grow. And here's a developmental response of maize roots to flooding on the left and oxygen deprivation on the right. So on the left, a cross-section of a control root in an aerated hydroponic medium. On the right, root growth in a non-saturated hydroponic medium. Ethylene-stimulated apoptosis, programmed cell death creates the air bubbles. So that's why it's important that soil not be waterlogged. It needs air spaces in soil so the roots can breathe. Salt stress. Plants respond to salt stress by producing solutes tolerated at high concentration. So this keeps the water potential of cells more negative than that of the salt solution. Heat stress proteins. Plants survive heat stress. Cold stress, altering lipid composition of membranes, is in response to cold stress, making them less fluid, making them more unsaturated. Or saturated. Saturated makes them stiffer. Plants defend themselves against herbivores and pathogens. They counter external threats with defense systems that deter herbivory and prevent infection and pathogens. So this is a defense. A maize leaf recruiting a parasitoid wasp is a defensive response to an army worm caterpillar, an herbivore. So the wounding of the caterpillar eating the maize leaf chemical in the saliva makes a signal transduction pathway which synthesizes and releases volatile attractions which recruit parasitoid wasps that lay their eggs within caterpillars. So this is defenses against spores. Defenses against pathogens. A plant's first line of defense against infection is its skin, the epidermis or periderm. Some of it can be kind of thick, like a cuticle. If the pathogen penetrates the dermal tissue, the second line of defense is a chemical attack from the plant that kills the pathogen and prevents its spread. The second defense system is enhanced by the ability to recognize certain pathogens. So here, plant responses to pathogen invaders. So down here, a virulent pathogen specific resistance is based on the binding of molecules from the pathogen to receptors in plant cells. Then the identification in step 1 triggers a signal transduction pathway in number 2. In number 3, a hypersensitive response. The plant cells produce antimicrobial molecules, seal off infected areas by modifying their walls, and then destroy themselves, those cells. This localized response produces lesions, these ugly spots, and protects other parts of an infected leaf, so it's not being spread. Before these infected cells die, they release a signaling molecule, methyl salicylic acid. Okay, so the signaling molecule is then distributed to the rest of the plant, to this leaf over here. In cells remote from the infection site, methyl salicylate is converted to salicylic acid, which initiates a signal transduction pathway which acquires resistance. So systemic acquired resistance is activated, the production of molecules that help protect the cell against a diversity of pathogens for several